So let's get into these questions. Let's drop some knowledge bombs on the listeners and these people that want some answers from Phil Daru. Now, our first question is from Kevin X Cologne on Instagram. He asks, I read your article about building the base for fighters, but the only part I was confused about was your program hypertrophy for a weight class athlete. I agree with everything I've seen you do. I just want to know what you meant by hypertrophy in the sense of weight class athletes. Before you answer the question, can you just let the people know what that article is and where they can find it too?
Yeah, you can find it on darustrong.com. It's in my training blog section. But basically, I was just talking about how I build a base from an out-of-camp perspective and how we build hypertrophy, joint integrity, things like that to help them get ready for camp and, just going in ready to go with a good work capacity and not having to get in shape and already be in shape once they start camp. Basically what you have to do, you have to look into the context of what I'm trying to say. Primarily, fighters start their out-of-camp program after a few weeks off from a fight, which means they have just come off a long camp and most likely a weight cut. So that's going to, deter their weight and then also just bring down the metabolism in general. So what this means for a fighter is that they are somewhat detrained and most of the time in a catabolic state. Just like a football player or something like that coming off a long season, they're not going to be as big and they're not going to be as strong as when they started the in-season. Now, what I'm trying to accomplish in the rebuilding process while initiating a greater work capacity with joint integrity, think of it as building like armor, right? Most of the time, it's very hard to build muscle, especially with the amount of cardio-based training these fighters perform with their skill-specific training. So I can attest basically that it'll be very hard to build massive amounts of muscle in a 6 to 12 week span. And the muscle that they do gain is only to build them back up to where they can sustain the work ahead in camp. With the muscle tissue we build, the metabolism will predominantly be faster, which leads to a better metabolic rate, which can burn more body fat and have an easier time once they actually have to cut the weight. Yes, and I do mean a leaner fighter, can cut weight faster and more efficient. It just is what it is. Water retention is lower and glycogen use is more optimally. So, it just your muscles will be able to build and be able to sustain water reduction a lot easier. So that's the process of hypertrophy and that phase, and that's the reason why I do it pretty much.